So, welcome to SQUASHFLIK TV, Raneem. I'm so honoured to have you on here. It's I've been watching you for years and years and years. We'll get to that, but I mean, I'm kind of a little heartbroken that you've retired. But I've seen all the messages, I've seen all the writings, and it's done the right way. Out on top, as the queen of squash, good to go. How are you doing now?
Thank you so much, first of all, for having me. And yeah, I can't believe that the first time we've met was actually 19 years ago. And I also can't believe that I only made the connection between the two events where I've met you only very recently. But yeah, what an honor to be with you.
Oh, Raneem, I can go back to just those days in 2001. I remember we took the shuttle back together with your mom, and me and your mom would talk, and you'd just be sitting there just nice and sweet, not saying too much. But then I think we as squash players, we go to an event like that, and I know Omnea was your idol back then, and you looked up to it, as did all Egyptian girls. And I just remember you watching and then just absorbing. And then 2 years later, I was like, whoa. I'm going to tell you for the honest truth, Raneem. So 2003, you were playing in the quarters, I think. I know you played Omnea in the semis, right?
No, I actually 2003 I lost in the quarters.
No, 2003 you got to the semis.
No, I lost in the quarters. 100% sure.
100% sure, because you had 4 Egyptians in the semis.
We were 6 in the quarters and 4 in the semis. But I wasn't, like, I lost to one of the other Egyptian girls.
Okay, so going back to that tournament in 2003, I sat and watched you played with David Campion at the time, and we're watching, and I remember Camp saying to me, he goes, what do you think of Raneem? And I go, dude, she floats around the court. Her movement is so good. And he looked over to me, he goes, she's going to be world number 1. And I looked at him and went, you think? He goes, look at her. She's got the silky hands, she's got the movement, and she's only 14. He says, I can feel the evolution of Egyptian squash right now. I can feel it behind me. And when it gets going, she's going to be one of the best. I went, yeah, I'm going to remember that, Camps, because that was a true fact that got you all the way.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I did. It would have been very disappointing if after all these like expectations, I didn't fulfill. But I'm really glad I did.
Oh, you did. So that was back in your junior career, and then you went on to win a lot of British Junior Open titles, and then you went on to win the World Juniors finally, and then you showed up, I think, when you were like 20 years old. I remember watching it, and it was like, Raneem's here. And the thing that I always remember of you in your younger days, those teenage days, is your Adidas Stabile shoes you used to wear. Because the shoes, you always had the colors, you always had the special ones, and you would float around in them and be go, God, she moves so well. And those shoes were clunky.
Yes, they were huge, but believe it or not, up until today, we don't have that wide range of squash shoes sold here. Mm-hmm. Buying squash shoes is always a difficult or tricky part in Egypt.
Yeah.
And at the time, the Adidas shoes were probably the only pairs that you could buy and actually have them stay with you a few months. Like, they were the only one of good quality.
Yeah.
So I started playing with them by mere coincidence. I was actually on my way I was at the club waiting to start my final match at the British Junior Open at Abbeydale. And I opened my bags, and the shoes aren't there. I actually went to the final match without my shoes. So I kept asking around until one of our other Egyptian players, my friend Ahmed Mohsen, decided to lend me his shoe. He was actually, he's actually, I think, 4 or 5 years older than I am, but his shoe size somehow was the same as mine. And that's when I first played with them. I won the final playing in someone else's shoes. And ever since then, I started playing with them. I decided they were the shoes for me. So
that happens, right? You know, look,
yes.
superstitious. When something happens, You stay with it. You ride that.
Yes, yes,
All
that's
right.
true.
So let's move on to that senior career of yours. Wow. I mean, there's legends. Can we call you a legend now? I think we can. Yes, we can. Come on.
I'll take it.
We'll take that. I hope so. So you just came out, and the Egyptian scene, like I said, in 2003, I could feel it. Everybody else could feel it, and then suddenly it exploded. And you looked up to Omnia, and I was thinking about this today, that now that you've retired, but when you were like 22, 23, that a young contingent that's coming through now, Hanya and everybody, they adored you. So it's kind of like you were their super role model, and now it's kind of like the legend is there. But I want to talk about your senior career more than anything. So, what was your favorite event that you won? I think I know, but I want to know. Seniors.
Favorite event that I won? I'm actually torn between two events.
Okay.
So there's the World Champs. Obviously, this is like it's right at the top there. But also the Karel Miller tournament in 2011. This was my first breakthrough ever. I managed to win my first big tournament, coming all the way through very tough competitors with the likes of Camille, Laura, Madeline Perry, Jenny Duncliffe in the final. I think this was probably the first time I ever beat Jenny, maybe the first time I beat Madeline as well. So it was a very special tournament for me, and ever since then I managed to actually see some progress happening in my performance on court, and so this is one of the most favorite titles to my heart.
Good. Well, at least we've got one over here in the US, right? But,
yes.
So the girls around you have that kind of base, the girls that you play with on the tour, and you always seem so close, because every time you come to Chicago, I've watched your last 3 matches you played in Chicago here, and it's a tight community, and that's what makes everybody grow, right? And I think hats off to you as a leader, as a mentor for those younger girls coming through. I think you've left them at a new level. You actually changed women's squash. But you and Nicole David, you changed it. You made it the golden era. And I think it's in a great place now for you to hand off the baton, as you are doing. But what will you miss those days of being on tour with the girls, being on tour with the girls at the World Championships? And I know you will be there in some form of way. You will. It's just you can tell you can't even let go on your retirement. You're like, oh, I'm missing it. But I'm excited for you. But will you miss the tour life?
I'm sure on so many levels I will. I'll miss the competition to start with. I'll miss seeing all those players every month back to back. I miss traveling with Tariq for sure. One thing I know is I'm not going to miss like the difficult parts of the losses or the difficult parts of the training schedule. The tough times can be really tough, but obviously so many good times that I'm going to miss. But I think mostly I'm going to miss the competition for sure.
I know it's been documented, but who was your favorite player to play against and beat, and who was your worst player to play against and lose to?
Favorite player to play against? There were so many examples. Like I'll go all the way back to playing with Rachel Grinham, maybe, and Jenny. This generation, even though they are older than me, but I always felt that I was so lucky to actually get the chance to play with I actually played with Cassie Jackman once. I played with Pamela Nimmo. I played with names that I never even imagined, playing against. Mm-hmm. So so many good matches. I played with Vanessa Atkinson, something that I always felt was very special. If we're talking about the current time, I would say my favorite players to play against were Sherbini, Camille, Joel, Tesni, yeah, a lot of good matches. Amanda as well, and those who I didn't like to play with more were, like I said in my interview, people that challenged me mentally and that actually pushed me mentally through a match. So those would be Laura and Nur Taib, who stood out the most in this category. There are so many players in the same category, but these two stood out in my head.
Yeah, I get that. So now you've talked about your retirement. You and Tarek are going to start a family, and everybody's excited for you. And we all know there's going to be an amazing squash player out there. Well, we hope there is. So, where do you see your role now? We know you're going to be an ambassador because you are already. But what do you see your role with Egyptian squash now, or are you going to take a complete step back?
I think for the time being, I'm taking a complete step back. To be honest, I've never seen myself as a coach. I've also never seen myself in like a management position.
Mm-hmm.
So where I see myself is the very difficult question for me at the time. I see myself as a mom for now, and this is something I'm absolutely excited about, surprisingly, because this feeling has evolved over the past few years a lot. If you had asked me 5 or 6 years ago, I would have told you I don't want any kids. So to be very excited to be a mom now is actually something that surprises me, but that actually makes me happy and excited about what comes next. I still want to be involved with squash somehow. I want to be playing squash. I want to be on court. I like hitting the ball a lot. Even to like this week and the week before, I was on court and I was really enjoying my time on court. So I don't want to step away altogether from the squash court, but I'm not sure whether I'm going to have like a certain role with squash.
Yeah. Please don't step away from the squash court because that backhand drop shot is deadly. We love that. And I'll watch that over and over again. I teach my juniors.
It comes back to a lot of practice. So if I don't do the same amount of practice, I'm not sure if it's still going to be there the same way it was. But I'm gonna try and do my best.
Okay, good. Lastly, you just touched on it, being a mom. I think, me personally, I think you've got one of the best moms as your role model. So if you're going to be a mom like she was with you when you were so young, you're gonna have a great journey.
Well, I'll have to agree with you about my mom for sure. I know everyone would say the same thing about their parents in general, but I'm really glad that she was there around, that people actually saw her and got to know her, and getting the messages over the past few weeks. So many people commented on the role that my mom played, and I think they were very true. I'm really glad that people met her and saw her and saw the role that she played in my life. Not that I'm going to be anything like her. I wish, I can only hope and dream. But yeah, she's absolutely amazing for sure.
Great. All right, I'll let you go, but I just want to say I'm so honored to have a chance to talk to you, especially after the little shock retirement that the squash world got. But I've watched you your whole career since you were young, watched you grow up, watched you be the best in the world, and watched you walk away being the best and the most classiest in the world. Because it's not just from me, but that's from all your peers around the world. Everybody respects you as a very classy and graceful competitor. So you will be missed. And sad to say, I'm glad I got to see one of your last matches live. So I'm happy with that.
I thank you for that. I'll try to be around as much as possible. Obviously, I'll be there as long as Tarek plays as well. And this is the good thing about this, that I'm retiring, but there's still someone in the squash family, and I'll get to be as close as a player.
Yeah. All right, great. Well, thank you so much, Raneem. The Enigma. I mean, I love that word for you. It's just perfect. The Enigma. Anyway, All the best. All the best with Tarek. All the best with creating a family and everything else you do going on.
Thank you. I wish you the same. Thank you.
All right.